What is going on, trainers? DrumVillain here, bringing you some more Pokemon Go PvP content, and today we're taking a look at the Ultra League. But first, a quick aside, I did get my starting ELO for this season. I finally made the grind up to rank 20, and we started around 2300 ELO, which I'm fairly happy with. I had a win rate at about 66 to 70%, so about 2/3 of my matches up to this point I've won, so pretty happy with 2300 as a starting point. It's nice to hit the ground running a little bit and start grinding towards veteran rank. In this video, we're going to be specifically taking a look at Gholdengo in the Ultra League. Now, this is the only one of these things I've evolved so far. It is a fairly new release with the able to send postcards over to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet to get a hold of the coin bag, to get these things to spawn in your game. There's a lot of guides out there from a lot of YouTubers and stuff talking about how to actually get hold of this thing, and I recommend checking them out. I'm not going to talk about those specifics in this video, but all you need to know really about this thing is that it is a Ghost and Steel type, which is a very interesting typing because that means it's going to be resisting fighting damage, which is very, very unique position for a steel type to have. Ultra League steel types are pretty strong because there's a lot of things that are going to struggle with steel types that are strong in the Ultra League, but you've got some very heavy hitters in steel types in terms of Registeel, Galarian, Stunfisk, and in terms of ghost types you've got things like altered form Giratina that's very, very dominant. Even picks like Gengar can do very well as safe swaps because they're aggressive energy generation and high damage output. And this thing does have an interesting moveset that could use some slight improvement, but it does have strong energy generation from Hex as a fast move. It's also got access to Shadow Ball, Focus Blast and Dazzling Gleam as its charge move, so big nukes for big damage because it is quite squishy, this Pokemon, for the Ultra League. Like, the Ultra League most things can take quite a few hits. This thing, strong charge moves are going to knock it out in one go, to be honest. It really doesn't have the bulk to stand up to those things. But I find overall it does perform very similarly to Gengar in terms of gameplay. Now, in terms of ranking for PvP abilities, this thing is not rated highly on PvPoke. I believe it's ranked 330 or something for the Ultra League, which is very, very low. Puts it below a lot of picks and a lot of Pokemon that I wouldn't recommend you try in the Ultra League. But I wanted to try this thing out, show it for you guys, and it didn't go badly. Like, I've gone positive with this team using this Pokemon, and that isn't just from the other members of the team fully carrying. In most of these matchups, Gholdengo is putting his own work in and really pulling some matches and wins off for me. Now, in terms of pairing and what to try this thing actually out with, I decided to go with something that's also a little bit spicy for the Ultra League, and that's going to be Kommo-O, because I've just recently built one. I had one that's got decent PvP IVs for the Ultra League, and I've just invested into actually powering it up and everything, so let's give it a go, because then Gholdengo is going to be countering the steel type, not sorry, steel types, but the fairy types that are going to be standing against Kommo-O and walling off really heavily. Kommo-O being a really interesting dragon in that it has all the advantages of having a dragon type, but also is anti-steel because of its fighting typing as well. And then to round out the team, we decided we needed some extra bulk because Gholdengo is very squishy, Kommo-O isn't that bulky, so we've gone for Registeel to pair alongside for a double steel strategy in the back. And the rough plan with this team is to be in the position where we're going to swap into Registeel, potentially bait out some of the stronger steel type counters, and then Gholdengo is hopefully going to be free to sweep because everything on this team has access to some pretty hard hitting charge moves. We've got Close Combat from Kommo-O, we've got Zap Cannon and Focus Blast on Registeel, and then Shadow Ball and Focus Blast on Gholdengo. So we're going to be one-shotting things left, right and centre and hopefully just forcing these charge moves through because the opponent's going to run out of shields. Now, if you're wanting a bit of a gauge on just how squishy Gholdengo is, take a look at this matchup that's coming up right here, right now. We're going to knock out this Berserker, swap into Gholdengo. We've got a shield advantage, and it's a Tapu Fini in the back, and we figure we're going to have to take at least one Surf because we don't get to the Shadow Ball that fast. I'll probably make it to 2 Surfs before I make it to 2 Shadow Balls, so we decide not to shield the first one and then hopefully make it to this last Shadow Ball. So Surf comes through, does a big chunk of damage, and you're going to see that we're going to get to this Shadow Ball with like 1 HP and a Dream to take the win, and that's very, very, very close. And Surf from Tapu Fini doesn't hit that hard, it's not super effective, so to be in farm down range potentially after 1 Surf is very, very squishy indeed. Well, let's take a look at some different matchups. We got Scraft on the lead in this game, and we're just going to stay in because honestly the Dark and Fighting combo is a big problem for Registeel and Gholdengo in the back. And we're not going to be going for the close combats here, we're just going to go for the Dragon Claws and Dragon Tails because that damage is just going to add up just fine. We know we can take this move without too much stress, although the counters are beginning to add up, but we just know we need to get this thing low enough. If it's super low, then its threat is gone, and even if that means that we farm it down with either Gholdengo or Registeel and get ahead on energy, that's completely fine. So we'll let that go through. We've got a shield advantage, and we're just going to go for a pretty aggressive farm down. These ghost moves are resisted, and we are going to take a bit of beating. We're going to have to shield this up because if it's foul play, it's going to do big damage. So we shield that up. It is the foul play. That's absolutely fantastic. We get the full farm down, and we're at 100 energy with Shadow Ball and Focus Blast waiting. See what comes in? It's a Jellicent. Straight for the Shadow Ball. Is it going to big damage? I'll get the shield. Absolutely monstrous damage, and another Shadow Ball straight away, so we can force that last shield. And we're going to throw this and swap out to Registeel and see what we bait out, because Registeel, with the shield advantage when you've already cleared a Scrafty out of the way, is probably going to have a lot of play in the back of a game. So they throw a Surf Adders, and there's the Shadow Nidoqueen, which is really not what our Registeel wants to see. We're not running Flash Cannon, so we're just going to go for the Zap Cannon because we want to drop the attack. We do get the attack debuff, thank the Lord, and now we can survive an Earth Power pretty comfortably. So we have to shield straight away just because we don't want to get Poison Fang baited, because they still have to land another Earth Power here to knock us out. Going to go for the Focus Blast, do a nice big chunk of damage, and the pressure's on for them to throw pretty quick because we will get to another and we will take them out. But the Nidoqueen's very low, so we're not going to shield it up. We'll come in with Gholdengo to farm down and get to one more Shadow Ball to absolutely wipe out that Jellicent, which we knew threw energy at Registeel, so it's energy dry. So we shield up this Earth Power, which is pretty lucky break. Jellicent swaps in aggressively. We can throw the Shadow Ball straight away, take them out, and now we can just fast move down the Nidoqueen and take that win. So GG. Now, this next matchup is going to be a bit of a showcase of maybe why this isn't the most versatile team for the Ultra League and why I might not strictly recommend it. Warrain on the lead, which is actually bad for Kommo-O because they're going to get to the Magical Spears faster than you're getting to the close combat, so you've got to risk dropping your defense to even throw that move. But they choose to swap out all the same into Charizard, which is a great safe swap in the Ultra League currently since it got the wing attack buff. But we're not really sure what to do with it because it's got Blast Burn, which will one-shot Gholdengo. It will do monstrous damage to Registeel. And the wing attacks and Dragon Claws are super effective against Kommo-O. So really, Charizard's a serious core breaker for this team. So we're just going to go for the Shadow Balls, shield the Blast Burns, which they are Blast Burns. At least we're not getting baited here. But this Charizard is going to beat us to this last charge move and just absolutely obliterate us. So if you want to see Gholdengo get one shot, here you go. Boom. He's out of there. And we're just going to come back in and farm down entirely with Kommo-O because we figure then we'll at least have a close combat charge. We should survive this Dragon Claw with at least a little bit of health. So if the Warrain comes in, we should be able to annihilate it. Tapu Fini comes in, and we hold on to our energy and swap out because Kommo-O's energy is completely useless against Tapu Fini. It's the close combat's resisted, the Dragon Claw is double resisted, and we swap into Registeel. And they're staying in with Tapu Fini, thank God, which means we can save that close combat to throw at the Warrain. Nope, they swap out. We're in a very bad spot here because although Registeel does very well against both Tapu Fini and Warrain, we've got no shields left to defend it from an Earthquake from the Warrain, and it's just not going to quite have enough to pull us through the last part of this game. So we're going to get hit with an Earthquake here, and we see we're going to be just in farm down range, which is a little bit unfortunate. We have to throw a Dragon Claw here to take out the Warrain, but we're not going to have any energy left to get to a move against the Tapu Fini, even though it is pretty low. So we get fast move down. It's going to be a good game. There's definitely other ways I could have played that game, but we all do make mistakes. Next game, Registeel lead, fantastic for Kommo-O. So, the opponent's probably going to swap out, and they do into Cresselia, and this is exactly what we want to see for Gholdengo, because Gholdengo is going to resist every single charge move that Cresselia has, whether it's Future Sight, Moonblast, or Grass Knot. You're resisting all of it. You can survive 2 Moonblasts, which is very nice, because honestly, I was a little bit skeptical after seeing how hard the Surf from Tapu Fini hit, but yeah, you can throw 1 Shadow Ball, farm down entirely. We're going to let this move go through as well. Even if this was a Future Sight, after a Moonblast, it still would have been enough to knock us out. So it's going to fast move all the way down, come out with a Focus Blast loaded, which is very scary for anything to deal with. And we're going to start throwing Shadow Balls into this Giratina that's coming in. This Giratina is going to be able to farm us down and get ahead on energy, but luckily excess energy on Giratina isn't too scary. Now this is a Shadow Claw Giratina, and therefore it might have access to Shadow Sneak or Shadow Force as well, which means it's not the best matchup for our Registeel, but also we want to keep Kommo-O away from it, and we want to line up our Kommo-O with their Registeel. We'll let the first move go through because now we can start throwing close combats and save the shield for when we're already debuffed, rather than throwing the close combat straight away and then potentially getting one-shotted by a Focus Blast and stuff like that. Makes sense to let the first one through because you can comfortably survive it. The Giratina comes back in, and again it's going to get an extra bit of farm down on us here, but all this energy is not going to matter because we've got shield advantage, we've nearly got a Zap Cannon loaded to potentially get that debuff, and they throw Ancient Power, which means they're probably running Dragon Claw an Ancient Power and don't have the Shadow Sneak, so their charge move energy is just going to absolutely go to waste. We let the first couple go through in case they boost, but they don't. So at this point, we can just free to drop shields and charge moves as they're throwing them. One more Zap Cannon, and this Giratina is going to be probably in lock-on down range. So they're actually going to surrender when we reach the next Zap Cannon here. Yeah, you see the pop-up there in the bottom coming up because we've already been awarded the win. So that's going to be a good game. Now, I am running these matchups a little faster than usual because Ultra League matches are generally some of the longest matches in Go Battle League, so I've sped them up a little bit more than usual. If you think they're too fast or you're finding it disorientated or anything, let me know down below and I will try and slow them back down again in future videos. I'm just kind of experimenting with trying to keep video length to certain kinds of times, really depending on the content I'm making. Okay, this matchup we got a Warren on the lead that's going to choose to swap in when we swap in Registeel, which means they might be pretty weak to Registeel in the back because this isn't the best matchup for Warren, especially a Shadow Warren because it can't one-shot you with the Earthquake. But it does do massive damage, but also you're doing massive damage with the Focus Blast or the Zap Cannons. So we go for the Zap Cannon here to try and get the debuff, which we don't quite get, but we are going to just outpace them to this Focus Blast. Not sure if they underestimated our energy there or something, but we are going to take them out, and we're all down to 0 shields. We'll be racing to that Zap Cannon to take out this Charizard, and we actually try and catch a Blast Burn on Kommo-O, which we are going to fail the catch on, and this is mainly about preserving Registeel because from what we could tell, it seems that they're weak to Registeel in the back, because if you swap a Registeel into Warren and they stay in, there's a good chance they're weak to Registeel because it's really not that good a matchup for Warren. So we swap out to Kommo-O and we pull out a Tapu Fini, which isn't really good for us because it's resisting the charge, but we're going to see we're going to be able to do a substantial amount of damage. But it is going to really come out of this matchup with a good amount of energy. We're going to bring in Gholdengo here as essentially a sacrificial chuck-in. We can survive this Surf and just get this Shadow Ball off, which should take out the Tapu Fini. And then we're hoping we can race to the Zap Cannon and take out that Charizard before it takes us out with a Blast Burn, which I think could be close. No, we're not in Blast Burn range. We survive it, so this is easily going to be our game, and that's going to be a GG. Bear in mind, Gholdengo just being able to take those 2 Surfs in situations like that. My Gholdengo is a rank 2 for the Ultra League, which means it's almost about as bulky as Gholdengo gets in the Ultra League. If you don't have good PvP IVs, I don't think you'll be able to have taken those 2 Surfs by any measure in that last matchup. Alright, here we've got Toxicroak, another example of a fighter that even though Gholdengo is going to be resisting those fighting fast moves, the charge moves have got strong coverage against it because those Mud Bombs are going to be hitting the Steel type in for big damage as well. So we have to stay in with Kommo-O in that matchup and try and put in as much work as possible. They're going to swap out to Warrain and we can bring in our Registeel because we can very comfortably take an Earthquake, absolutely no worries. They have to land 2 to take us out. If we debuff them with this Zap Cannon, they might even have to land an Icicle Spear as well. If we don't get the debuff, that's no big stress. They are probably just going to be an Earthquake here. We are going to let it go, and it is the Earthquake, and it is just going to take us out, which is a little unfortunate. But we can come in with Kommo-O and start farming down. The opponent realises they don't want us ahead on energy and swap back into Toxicroak, which is very lucky for us because that means that we're not going to be lined up against this thing with Gholdengo. We're going to let this move go, and we're going to farm down. We've got 1 shield advantage, and we're hoping we can just one-shot whatever's in the back or absolutely wipe it out. We are going to have to shield up a Mud Bomb here because it's just going to hit hard. It's super effective. Gholdengo's not got the bulk. I'm just going to see what comes in. We're not going to pull the trigger straight away in case they try and bring in the Warrain again because that is also in farm down range. But it is the Ampharos that comes in. And Ampharos, as we all know, recently got access to Brutal Swing, which is a dark move. It's going to hit us for super effective damage, and they're just going to make it here. And look how hard this thing hits. It's just Brutal Swing, boom, takes us out, and that is very disappointing, but we're going to take an L there, and it's going to be a GG. So be extra warned, chuck Brutal Swing on the list of moves that the Gholdengo cannot survive in the Ultra League. This thing, I cannot emphasize enough how squishy it is. I know I keep saying it, but it really is. Now, Pidgeot lead, we should be safe swapping Gholdengo because honestly, even though they're going to be resisting the fast moves and your Shadow Ball, the Focus Blast is going to be neutral, you're resisting all their charge moves and all their fast moves, and it still pressures them to swap out. And Pidgeot on lead often have Cobalion in the back because they pair up so well in terms of coverage, and obviously Cobalion's very good against the Steel types, but Gholdengo is good against Cobalion because you're resisting the Double Kick, you're resisting the Sacred Sword, you're resisting the Stone Edge. So, if we'd have safe swapped Gholdengo and baited this thing out, we'd have been in a much stronger position, but we are still going to be able to get shield advantage in this situation, and I do believe we're going to end up bringing in Gholdengo into this situation rather than our Kommo-O. And the main reason here is just to get ahead on energy, really. And we wanted to see how much damage we were going to take from these Sacred Swords and these double kicks. As you can see, it doesn't really do all that much at all. Sacred Sword is very much like, I think it's a Dragon Claw clone, so it is quite spammy, but it's not very high damage at all, even though it's stab. We're going to build up a lot of energy, throw the Shadow Ball to finish them off, see what the opponent's going to choose to do, because we've got a feeling they might have another Steel Answer in the back. They actually try and catch, I believe it was a Steelix I saw for a split second, then I'm not entirely sure. I saw Ground and Steel typing, and then the Pidgeot came in. So it's going to throw the Focus Blast. Does absolutely monstrous damage here. Let this move go. It is the Brave Bird. We were expecting a Feather Dance, not really sure why, but that means we're able to farm them down entirely with those Dragon Tails, and it's actually Galarian Stunfisk that comes in, and because we've got 2 shields and we've got close combat, they're going to surrender there. It's going to be a good game. So, next matchup, another Pidgeot lead. So what we're going to do, we're going to swap Gholdengo in, because we figure we learned a lesson last time. There's probably a Cobalion or something similar back there, and we want to see what we can pull out with Gholdengo, and Pidgeot's just going to stay in and start throwing Feather Dancers and debuffing us. Now, you might think this is an awful situation to be in. You've swapped in, there's no fast move pressure, you're getting nerfed into oblivion, but look at that Focus Blast, does still more than half after a double stage attack drop. So that means we're going to knock him out with another Focus Blast. We think this might have been a Brave Bird, it turns out it's not, but we shield up, it's fine either way. We get to another Focus Blast, we're going to get that shield back, or we're going to knock them out. We do get the shield, that's completely fine, and we're going to let this go, because we don't want to go down all our shields. It is the Brave Bird, is going to take us out, and we figure now we can just fast move down entirely. With Kommo-O, we swap into Registeel because we thought we'd lost track of energy and they were going to get to a last second charge move, but they don't. We just farm them down with Lock On, and there's the Cobalion that the opponent was too clever to swap into Gholdengo, because honestly I thought people are going to see Steel and just immediately quick swap into that Cobalion or that fighting type or something, and Gholdengo is actually going to be tough for it to handle. But this opponent held off, kept hold of their Cobalion in the back. They sensed it might have been something else that it was good for, and they were right, which is a pretty tough spot for us to be in now. I do believe this is worth a shield, because it means we can get a Focus Blast off on this Cobalion, and then hopefully Kommo-O can just absolutely obliterate whatever's in the back. We'll just have to see. We're getting ahead on energy. We've got a close combat already loaded, and that we said that's going to hit very, very hard depending on what is in the back here. And it turns out they got their own Registeel, so it's just as well we got ahead on energy with this thing, because we're going to be able to get to 2 close combats before they get to a charge move. Second one's going to come through. This is going to absolutely obliterate them. Our defense is going to be through the floor, but because that Cobalion's already dumped its energy, it's not going to be able to take us out, and we're just going to fast move down and take the win. GG. Okay, jumping into the next matchup, and we've got Defense Form Deoxys on the lead, and this is pretty rough because the Psycho Boost is going to hit Kommo-O pretty hard. We've got Steel types in the back. Gholdengo is going to have a good matchup here, really, but Registeel can suffer in the long run, and Kommo-O can suffer in the charge move run, because like I said, this Psycho Boost is going to hit like a truck, and we do shield up a Psycho Boost. But I think really the best thing I should have done here is you either want to try and catch a move on Registeel, like catch a Psycho Boost, but then the pressure to stay in because Deoxys might be their best answer to Registeel, or at least once they've thrown a Psycho Boost, then just swap Registeel in, because either it's their only good matchup for Registeel, but they're already debuffed and the pressure to swap out anyway into a bad matchup that you can control, or something else. But we end up staying in, just Dragon Clawing, Dragon Tailing through, and we're down our shields. They bring in Drapion, we don't want to get farmed down, so we're going to swap out aggressively into Registeel, because we don't want Gholdengo lined up against this thing. Those Crunchers are going to absolutely annihilate us, even though we're triple resisting the fast move. A super effective charge move from a Shadow that's Stab is going to absolutely obliterate us. And they're choosing to stay in here, which I'm more than happy to see, because we just need all the advantage we can get. It means they might be weak to Steel types in the back. We're going to get to, they're going to get to another Crunch. It's going to get us pretty low, which is pretty rough for us. We are going to take them out, and then we're just hoping that Gholdengo's got a positive matchup in the back, because we are still down a shield, which is really not a position Gholdengo wants to be in, and it's an Obstagoon, so they're triple resisting the fast moves. Focus Blast will absolutely take them out, but they have Night Slash, and look at that, an unboosted Night Slash does more than 50%, so we're not even going to get to 1 Focus Blast before they take us out with double Night Slash, and that's going to be a good game. There's absolutely nothing we can do left in this game, because we can't get the shield, and we can't get to a hard-hitting charge move to take them out. We're just going to throw a Dragon Claw here, but this is daft. We should have just really top cornered at this point and saved us both some time, because there's nothing left we can do. Registeel can't make it to a charge move. they're going to get a boost as well, just to add insult to injury, and that's going to be a good game. Alright, next matchup. I didn't catch this trainer's name before I started the screen recording, but they've got Escavalier on the lead. Nice little bit of, well, it's not that spicy for the Ultra League, but it's spicier than most of the stuff and most of the teams you see at this point. Its play's definitely been reduced a little bit in recent seasons, and again, this is something that maybe Gholdengo can hang out with, but Registeel definitely can't. So we're just going to stay in with Kommo-O and put in the work that we can. We're building up to the close combats before we throw charge moves, because we want to pressure shields out of them. If they don't shield a Dragon Claw, then we can just go for another one and keep getting them pretty low. They're going to swap out into Origin Form Giratina. So we're going to go for double Dragon Claw, because we want to force a shield out of these guys before we do anything else. And we're going to swap to Registeel once we do that, because now we're on complete 0 shields. And although this is generally slightly in Origin Form Giratina's favour, 0 shields, they're in Zap Cannon range. So this is actually in our favour at this point. This should just be an ominous win. It's not going to do very much damage. We're going to max out on energy before we throw, just to increase the chance of us getting to a Focus Blast against the Escavalier if it comes back into Farmer's Down. We actually undercharge to try and accelerate our chance of getting there. They swap out aggressively into Guzzlord because they do not want to be farmed down. We're going to get to a Focus Blast, do absolutely huge damage. But Guzzlord, again, bad news for Gholdengo in the back. That Dark typing is going to really punish our Ghost typing. So it's going to stay in here. They're going to throw a Dragon Claw. It's not enough to take us out, and we will get to another Focus Blast if they don't throw. So they're pressured to throw. There's going to be another Dragon Claw to take us out. And that's implying to me that they might not have Brutal Swing, because Guzzlord can also have access to Sludge Bomb, which you might have as coverage. So we're just praying. We're going to bring in Gholdengo and just try and fast move down. Hope for the best. It is just Dragon Claw and not the Brutal Swing. Giratina is going to come in, get fast move down. And as long as we throw the Shadow Ball, at the Escavalier, which we do, we're going to win this game by the skin of his teeth and just the good fortune that this Guzzlord wasn't running Brutal Swing. If it had, we'd have lost pretty hard. But when you've not got the right charge moves, it can work out in your favour. Alright, last game and some interesting matchups here. We've got Virizion on the lead against Kommo-O, which is reasonably okay. It's a pretty neutral matchup both ways. They're hitting us for neutral and them for neutral. We are going to be resisting that Leaf Blade, which is a very, very fantastic charge move in general to have in PvP. And we're keeping this thing away from Registeel. That's the main thing. Registeel is going to struggle with this thing quite heavily, so we're just going to keep it away from that. They're going to catch a Dragon Claw onto Regirock, which is a fantastic catch, and we're going to swap out into Gholdengo rather than our Registeel, because then we assume they're running Focus Blast as well as Stone Edge, and Gholdengo is going to be resisting both of those and can just survive one fairly comfortably. You see the Stone Edge comes through, doesn't hit that hard. We're going to go straight for the Focus Blast. If they don't shield, this will take them out. Boom! You don't often see Regirock one-shotted from that kind of health range, but that's just how much an attack-weighted Focus Blast is going to do. We're not going to shield this up either. If it's Leaf Blade, it's resisted. If it's Stone Edge, it's resisted. If it's Secret Sword, it's resisted. So there's not really all that much pressure. We're going to CMP tie with a Shadow Ball, see if they're going to choose to shield this or not. They're going to put it all on whatever's in the back, and it's Steelix. We can come in with Registeel, and even though we're on 2 shields apiece, the opponent knows that they can't win that game, and they're going to surrender there, and it's a GG. So that's Gholdengo in the Ultra League, guys. It has got quite a bit of interesting coverage, but also it's got quite a lot of weaknesses, like those Dark Fighters are very tough for it. There's a lot of ground-type charge moves floating around in Ultra League that are going to threaten it pretty heavily, but also it can core break a lot of opponents' teams entirely as well, but you do need to give it that shield coverage because it is very, very squishy. Do I recommend you build one? No. I think it needs maybe a bait charge move to be a lot more useful, take advantage of Hex's energy generation even more. Or perhaps it needs a bit more fast move pressure from something like Shadow Claw. I don't know if it learns Shadow Claw, but I think that would do it a lot of favours as well. So let me know what you guys think of Gholdengo down below. Have you even evolved one yet? Because those coins are not easy to come by. And if you've enjoyed the video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. And I will catch all you guys next time.